The route of the Exodus must be one of the most controversial topics in history. There are so many theories flying around as to where the Red Sea crossing took place and where Mount Sinai and the campsites mentioned by Moses were located. In a series of 5 videos, I shall take you through the whole of the Exodus journey from beginning to end. With the assistance of the Assyrian records, I shall help you identify many of the places referred to in the Bible, the location of many of them having been lost in antiquity. The Hebrew Bible is written in an archaic language and is often hard to comprehend. The directions are not always as clear as one would like them to be. To demonstrate what I mean, consider the following passage from Exodus 23 verse 31. "And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness unto the river." Here the Lord is telling the Israelites that he is giving them the land of Canaan for a possession. The Hebrew words translated as Red Sea are Yam Suf, this being the Gulf of Aqaba. We know that the Gulf of Aqaba is intended because in 1 Kings 9 verse 26 we are told that King Solomon built his ships in Ezion-Geber, which is next to Elat, this being on the shore of Yam Suf. Yam Suf again being translated as Red Sea. So for the southern border we draw a line from the Gulf of Aqaba to the Mediterranean, this being where the Sea of the Philistines is located. But then notice how the northern border is described. It simply says, "and from the wilderness to the river." The wilderness here is the wilderness in Syria, and the river in question is the river Euphrates. This is confirmed by another passage which makes it perfectly clear that the river Euphrates is intended, but this passage does not actually say that. This may have been well understood at the time it was written, but to our modern ears it is not at all clear. Likewise, when we are told that King Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah as thou goest to Shur, that is over against Egypt, people are assuming that this is saying that Shur is over against Egypt, which is not what this passage is telling us. The following passage makes it a lot clearer. "And they, that is the Ishmaelites, dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria." The formula here is the same as in the previous passage, but this time the words "as thou goest toward Assyria" have been added for clarification. In the Septuagint it says "until one comes to the Assyrians," which is probably clearer. Think about it. This is referring to the King's Highway, which at that time was the main trade route between Egypt and Assyria. This statement only makes sense if you place Shur over here to the east of the Gulf of Aqaba. It makes no sense whatsoever if you place Shur over against Egypt, as most people are doing. It is not Shur which is over against Egypt, but rather it is the whole of this region between Havilah and Shur which is over against Egypt. Consequently, by placing Shur over here next to the Egyptian border, it has the impact of people grossly underestimating the importance of King Saul's campaign. There is yet another passage which makes it perfectly clear that Shur is over here to the east of the Gulf of Aqaba. In 1 Samuel 27 verse 8, we are told that King David conquered all the regions from Bashan in the north, all the way down to Shur, and then over to Egypt. Again, this makes no sense whatsoever if you place Shur over against Egypt. If you draw a line from Bashan down to where archaeologists are placing Shur, you are not only cutting off a substantial part of the land of Israel, but you are also cutting off the whole of the land of Judah. We should not be imposing our own interpretations of what we think the Bible is saying. As I have just demonstrated, we should be listening to what the Bible is actually telling us. And we can only do that by looking at all related references and putting the evidence together to obtain a complete and coherent picture. In Journey Through the Wilderness, I shall take you through the whole of the Exodus journey from the time they left Egypt right up to the time they entered the Promised Land. I shall be tackling the many objections being put forward by people who are doing their utmost to debunk a crossing through the depths of the Gulf of Aqaba. It seems that there are a lot of people who want you to believe in an ineffectual God, who has to rely on natural explanations for miracles, or at most on miraculous timings. They do not believe in a God who created the world and the universe around us, or who parted waters which are around 900 meters deep in the middle. By demonstrating that the Wilderness of Shur is to the east of the Gulf of Aqaba, the Gulf of Aqaba being called Yamsuf in the Bible, it means that after crossing the Gulf of Aqaba, the Israelites ended up in northwest Saudi Arabia. Did you know that we have 4 extra biblical sources telling us that Jews were active in this region of Saudi Arabia right up until late in the 1st century of the Common Era? 2 of those sources even tell us that they had a sacred altar there. So think about it. Why would the Jews have a sacred altar over here in this part of Saudi Arabia? What was it about this region that was of especial importance to them? Bear in mind also that every year God's people are commanded to keep the Feast of Tabernacles in the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar. They are told to do this in remembrance of the Exodus. Note that the Sukkot or booths are to be made using branches from goodly trees, including willow trees. Think about it. Where do you think they found these sorts of trees in the Sinai Peninsula? The tabernacle itself was huge. A lot of wood was used in its construction. Where do you think they obtained that wood if they wandered around in a dry, arid desert for 40 years? Also, if you are one of the many people who think that the Israelites spent those 40 years wandering round and round the Sinai Peninsula, then boy, are you in for a big surprise. So join me for Journey Through the Wilderness. Uploading soon.